Wow, we sure showed that demon. Okay, you guys sure showed that demon.
Charmed, like many long-running shows with a passionate fanbase, has had plenty of debates and which is better comparisons over the years, but rather than heated discussions on shipping, the eternal war that wages on the World Wide Web involves just one woman.
The name's Halliwell, Prue Halliwell.
Charmed neatly divides into two separate eras, Season 1 to 3 with the Halliwell sisters Prue, Piper and Phoebe, and Seasons 4 to 8 with Phoebe and Piper and their half-sister Paige. Guess what the debate is?
Look, it's just sometimes I feel like they want me to be Prue, Super Witch.
Actually, it's more complicated than that, because the fan reaction to Paige overall is pretty positive. Despite replacing the lead character, she was warmly received and considered as essential to the show's lore and ensemble as her predecessor. And while fan consensus tends to skew towards the earlier seasons as being of better quality, it's impossible to say outright that Prue was a universally loved character.
Saint Prue!
Sure, she has her extremely vocal and passionate fans who decry every season after the third as one big jump the shark, but there are plenty who either like both eras of the show in their own way, or prefer it without Prue.
You lose, I win.
I was one of the latter who slowly became one of the former, and I expended many hours of energy defending the later seasons and highlighting the issues in the earlier ones, with Prue always being my least favourite of the sisters.
She is all about duty and obligation, well, not me.
I even hit her with the dreaded Mary Sue label, after spending a few years mixing up which sister Constance M. Burge based on herself, thinking it was Prue when in actuality it was Phoebe.
She looks alright so far.
Now that enough time has passed for me to rethink and reconsider, I'm going to ask, was I wrong about Prue? While there are definitely outside factors, such as the levels of toxicity the fans of the character, and indeed the actress can reach, I used to say I disliked Prue because of the writing. She dominated storylines, she had no flaws, she was bland, she was boring, she was bitchy, she was a hypocrite. Yeah, I definitely abused the HE double hockey sticks out of the Mary Sue is a character you don't like mantra. Grown-up Twilight haters have to apologise to Bella Swan, I have to apologise to Prue Halliwell.
Really?
I've had moments where I've taken issue with all the Halliwell sisters, including Paige as my favourite, which I've already documented, but Prue was always the one I had to only grudgingly give the bone to.
Obviously.
So let's revisit some of my criticisms and see whether they were completely unfounded. She had no flaws? Okay, I was way off on this point.
She's always been more like a mother.
That's not her fault. She practically had to sacrifice her own childhood to help raise us.
It's written into her character from the beginning that she was a smothering busybody who behaved more like an overbearing mother than an older sister, and, like, we're not supposed to agree with her when she behaves like that.
Even if you don't want to believe me, just once can't you trust me?
The whole first episode gives her an arc of learning to be more of a sister to Phoebe, and forgiving her for what she was like in the past.
The Book of Shadows said that our powers would grow. Grow to what?
Yeah, she's the sister with the most offensive power, and touted as the strongest. As well as being the first to get another power, she struggles plenty with both.
Dad, 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 dad.
In the first episode, she needs Phoebe to help her get the basics of telekinesis, and it takes her nearly the whole season to be able to channel it through her hands rather than her eyes.
Are you there?
Oh god.
The episode in which she gets astral projection sees her unsure of how to use it, and she's easily susceptible to manipulation from Barbas.
Prue?
And indeed, in his first episode, a major character point is that Prue is unable to tell her sisters that she loves them.
You know, you're right.
Yeah, the girl cannot say the words, I love you.
And it's an extension of where her other flaws come from. In this case, trauma over their mother's death, rather than a token flaw to be overcome once the episode's done.
I love you.
Prue struggles with the work-life balance too, with a whole episode set in the future highlighting what might happen if she continues to do that.
Alright, I am booked with work. I'm about to lay off countless people with a flick of my pen, no man to speak of.
And while Piper and Phoebe's bad future selves are given sympathetic lenses, Prue's gets none of that.
Prue pushed it through.
I did?
I thought the to hell with the little people part was particularly persuasive.
So it's not like she's eternally on this moral high ground that her sisters aren't.
Prue, wait! Don't.
Plenty of episodes see Prue getting captured or incapacitated, and it's Piper or Phoebe who has to save her, so she's not overpowered. Although it's season 3 that plays up her flaws more, the previous 2 have her as a rounded character as well. While she is hyped up as the strongest sister, she's not impossibly powerful. She struggles just as much as the other 2. Primrose Empath is all about her being given powers she wasn't meant to have and how they overwhelm her.
I just wanted to go away.
Yeah, she learns to channel them into a spectacular fight scene at the end, but that's only after the episode has built to it, by showing her struggling and needing help and guidance from other characters, meaning this payoff moment is very much earned in the narrative. And in fact, anytime she's touted as the strongest, the episode itself begs to differ.
I never said that I had the power to go against him. You did, remember? No, the Book of Shadows did.
In Witch Trial, Phoebe assumes that the power of one means that Prue is the one who has to defeat Abraxas, when it actually means all 3 of them working as one. In Sin Francisco, she thinks being the strongest makes her immune to getting infected with one of the 7 deadly sins, but to use her words,
Well, that was the pride talking, and it almost got me killed already.
and whenever Piper or Paige compares herself to Prue, it's obviously more of a point of low self-esteem on their part, rather than character shilling.
Can you make me as good as Prue was?
Prue does do some pretty cool things, especially by season 3, but so does Phoebe, who arguably masters levitation quicker than Prue does astral projection. Prue gets it wrong just as many times as she gets it right, and rarely more or less than the others, so that is scratched out. I used to complain all the time that she was a wet blanket or overly grumpy in season 1, and well, that's the point of her character, isn't it? She's lost her grandmother, her job, and her fiancé when the series begins, and that's in addition to the trauma she grew up with in witnessing her mother's death, her father leaving the family, and a rebellious teenage phase with an abusive boyfriend.
It was Prue's rebellious stage. She thought everything bad was good, especially the guy she thought she was in love with, until he attacked her.
While a Mary Sue often does get a super sad backstory, it's not usually balanced with 2 other characters who experienced most of the same things. And her arc across all 3 seasons is learning to let go of all that, and how witchcraft and discovering her destiny allows her to become the woman she always wanted.
Well, at least our lives won't be boring, but they'll never be the same.
I used to think it was inconsistent to have her as a quippy super witch by season 3, but we see plenty of season 1 moments involving her letting her hair down and kicking up her heels, including the way she sasses her ex.
I thought breaking up with you was the best thing I'd ever done, but this definitely tops that.
And in the second episode, she gets to be a hot mess for a bit, just like the other 2. And there are moments, like in Miss Hellfire, where her playful side coming out gets a genuine reaction from me, so the portrayal of her as a humorless busybody in the first few episodes serves to set up these moments. Just as Piper being portrayed as meek and shy at first gives more power to when she develops into the badass matriarch of the family. And in Dead Man Dating, which is only the 4th episode, she acknowledges Phoebe's growth in a speech I find really sweet.
You were trying to do something good. And now you're gonna get to do something wonderful. I couldn't ask for a better birthday present than that.
Again, because the pilot episode had shown them to be at odds. So if I ever say she was cold or aloof, I also have to acknowledge that she was warm and caring plenty of times as well. And while she could be cruel, especially with regards to Victor, again, isn't that the point?
You said that you left because Grams wanted us to use our powers and you didn't.
That's the truth, but now you know the whole story.
She judged him too harshly, thinking he just abandoned the family, and then learns that the reasons were more complicated, giving more power to the moments where she forgives him and accepts him back into the family.
I need you.
And as a kid I found her a bit too harsh to Cole, but, well, he did legit try to kill them. And really, she's the only sister whose treatment towards him is actually proportionate to his actions.
Like I said, once a demon, always a demon.
And before his secret gets revealed, although she's suspicious of him, she keeps those suspicions to herself out of respect for Phoebe's feelings. And in Primrose Empath, when she gets magical confirmation that he's genuinely in love with Phoebe, she's right there encouraging them to properly get together.
Who's falling in love? Cole.
Of course, there's still an inconsistency in sleuthing with the enemy when Prue suddenly doesn't like him again, but that's really just a minor gripe. And sure, there are many moments where Prue can be said to be embodying a wish fulfillment role, which is usually what a Mary Sue accusation tends to focus on, like a sexy vampire noticing the shy transfer student who's not like other girls, or an orphan who becomes a badass warrior with minimal training. And as the years go by and my own writing career gets going, I ask myself, what's wrong with wish fulfillment? What's the problem with living vicariously through your creations? As long as they're well written and not hurting anyone.
Anything in moderation.
Wish fulfillment was part of Prue's character, and perhaps more so than Piper and Phoebe's. Prue spends her first episode worrying about how her life will change when she gets these powers, and then she soon starts experiencing positive change because of them. She gets to do things she never thought possible, and basically be a superhero.
How dare you hurt people this way?
And at the time the series was made, Buffy Summers, Sabrina Spellman, Usagi/Serena, and many other protagonists of female empowerment media were teenagers. Prue was 27, which is still young and hip, but it's a part of life where you're already expected to have everything sorted out, and it definitely meant something to have the heaviest hitter be nearly 30 with a desk job. If anything, those traits made Prue stand out from the characters who are often accused of being wish fulfillment or self-inserts. And sure, she gets cringe lines like this.
The man is here to save the day.
Billy, it's the 21st century. It's the woman's job to save the day.
But she's far from the only sister to get them.
Piper and Leo's love has touched us all.
The complaint about her dominating storylines is one I do still stand by, but if I think about it, it's not really a criticism and more of an apples and oranges situation.
I want my real sister back. Me too.
The first 3 seasons have Prue as that leading character, giving the other 2 just enough to feel fleshed out, and the remaining 5 are more of an ensemble, giving the 3 almost an equal amount of focus. And even if Prue was the driving force of the first 2 seasons, it's not like Phoebe and Piper got the shaft.
Nothing can keep me away from you too long.
Piper got plenty of storylines involving her love life and changing careers, just as much as Prue, and even if Phoebe got no arc at all until season 3, she still got episodes to herself that meant she never felt like a spare part. And this seems to be more of a necessary evil, or at least a feature of the first season, where Shannon Doherty was bringing that name recognition, and she would feasibly need to be front and centre so that viewers could watch for her, and then grow to love the unknown Holly Marie Combs along the way.
Obviously.
And it's not like the later seasons were immune from having one sister take prominence over the others. Phoebe arguably dominated season 4 and Piper season 6. Paige thankfully was never over-pushed, to use a wrestling term, with season 7 and the start of season 8 being the only times she really took the lead.
Right.
Ultimately, it just comes down to preference. And my favourite Prue season is the 3rd, which balanced the focus between all 3 sisters.
I cannot believe I wrecked Piper's wedding.
While there were times in which Prue's prominence felt overkill, such as an episode about Piper's wedding making everything all about Prue, the show was well aware of it, and incorporated it into the plots of episodes like Sin Francisco, where Prue's sin is pride and she literally can't save the day because of it.
So any good you did during your prideful state was for the greater glory of Prue.
Hypocrisy is the word that I would often use when zeroing in on Prue, and that is something that made it hard for me to connect with her as a character.
Yeah, but I can protect myself. I mean, I have something that they don't have, something that guns can't even compete with. Wait, we're not doing this.
It's written in the first person. I can do it alone.
No, Kitty.
There are the little moments like Dead Man Dating where she could have killed Andy over a misunderstanding and was supposed to side with her, especially in light of how she always grilled Phoebe over misusing their powers. And then there's Wrestling with Demons, where Prue's high school boyfriend is actively trying to be evil, but she decides he's redeemable, and that Cole isn't because she expects Piper and Phoebe to trust her judgment when she won't trust Phoebe's. But if the show proves her right in the first situation, I also have to acknowledge that it proves her wrong in the second too.
But I have to admit, after taking a trip down the dark side, I sort of understand it a little bit better.
And even if I don't like Prue, there are plenty of moments where I connect with the character, and a lot of them come in my least favourite of her seasons.
I have no one to say goodbye to.
I feel genuinely bad for her bad future self in Morality Bites when she realises she has nothing but her work.
If we die tonight, my tombstone will read, "Here lies Prue, she worked hard."
My favourite Prue moment comes in Witch Trial, where she has to admit the grief she's feeling for Andy's death.
I'm supposed to be so powerful, how come I couldn't save him?
And Shannon delivers my favourite performance of hers across the whole series.
How can it be good to be witches if all it does is get the people we love killed?
And I've already spoken at length about the interesting places her character goes to in All Hell Breaks Loose, her final episode. So I can't really call it bad writing or even inconsistent writing if I'm still able to connect with the character when I'm not a fan, and still feel for her in plenty of instances.
I just don't know if I believe in it anymore.
I guess I'll have to go ahead and call it maturity. Now, having gone on that journey of rethinking and rediscovery, how do I feel about Prue's exit? Am I now on the side of fans who wish she'd stayed around? Do I feel the show lost something without her? Of course not.
I also know that when one door closes, another one opens.
While you have to take a lot of things Shannon Doherty says with a grain of salt, I am on the side of what she says here.
I was saying, I think it's time, you know? And it's time for me personally, and I thought it was time for the show, because a show like that needs to stay fresh.
As I said earlier, Prue dominated the majority of storylines in the first 2 seasons, and a lot of the season 3 stories still circled back around to her.
I swear I'm working on it.
It's a constant struggle.
Her character had run her course by all hell breaks loose. Season 1 saw her go from guarded trauma victim to powerful leader. Season 2 saw her transitioning from office drone to freelancer, and Season 3 saw her reaching her peak both in terms of power and relationships.
Could I accept that as a yes?
Yes.
She made her peace with her father, and her mother sort of too, and she had to let go of Phoebe and Piper and acknowledge that they didn't need her the way they used to.
You took care of us. And now it's time to take care of you.
She'd already accomplished so much by the time of All Hell Breaks Loose that I legit can't see any other directions for her character to go in, aside from maybe a fun arc when she turned into an antagonist.
They didn't just plant evil inside of me, or us for that matter. There had to be something there for them to turn to begin with.
It's very much a quality over quantity situation here, and her exit allowed the show to pivot and try new things. Her death allowed for significant character development in Piper especially, and the introduction of Paige as her successor gave the show a new energy. It was different without her, not worse. And like both the Prue and Paige eras have one season I feel is the weakest. 6 for the Paige years and 2 for the Prue ones. I'm even on board with the fact that we never see her again on the show because, really, how could a reappearance have done her justice? Not seeing her again allows the death and the loss to have a special kind of meaning. But I fully admit that's coming from my own biases.
Welcome home.
Even so, it gives a very simple and direct message that reads to me as, that's it. That's all you get. Which is indeed a very Prue attitude towards things.
Forgot.
No, you didn't.
So as we come to the end of this retrospective on my least favourite Halliwell, I answer the question of whether I was wrong about Prue, and that answer is yes.
Just a tiny, teeny little bit.
She wasn't a Mary Sue. She wasn't that inconsistent. She wasn't bland or boring or overpowered or whatever.
Hello, axe murderer!
I don't love the character, but that's all it has to be, just like in real life. Sometimes you just don't vibe or gel with a person, and that's cool, as long as you still respect them. And I can indeed respect Prue for what she brought to the show, and what she meant to so many viewers. And I'm finding a new appreciation for Shannon Doherty's work that I wasn't fully able to see all those years ago.
They think we're the demons now.
So while Paige may be my preferred Halliwell and era, that doesn't mean I can't acknowledge the legacy of Prue, and everything else she represented.
Oh, you need a little time out, Missy.
And I don't think any fan or detractor would disagree with me when I say, it wouldn't have been charmed without her.